We're doing it again?
Pastor's Patio here, Tom. Cut 2, 112. It's May 6th, 2026. And, you know, we were just visiting about forgiveness here, and I'm going to summarize. We had a great day at IMF yesterday, but before we get into it, I want to direct you to the Jesus in the City Fellowship website, as well as fishingforlife.org's website. Jeff Boyer's on the air on Monday nights, and he's talking about Nineveh, and I call it Nineveh. Tom?
Yeah, and a couple other housekeeping things. We love the YouTube library you're building.
Yes.
You're picking this up on Facebook. If you could just go to YouTube and say hi, thank you, thumbs up, like it.
Yes.
It helps build that audience, which is important. That's the request there?
Yes. Yeah, we've got 230 videos on the YouTube channel now, and it's a terrific library because we do keep these up on the Facebook as well, but it's not doing the job that it used to do. Okay. And so Norton's devotional is on Monday morning, and you got on every morning, not just Monday, every morning. He's been doing that for 6 years now with us. Tom, you're out and about.
Yeah, we finished our gala. Thank you if you were a part of that. Yeah. We finished our crappie contest last weekend with the veterans, served about 60 vets. Wonderful outing. Yes, we're catching crappies. This weather bites right now. These fish aren't doing what they're supposed to do. And then tomorrow I've got the Governor's Fishing Opener, which I've been a part of, Fishing for Life, for many years.
Tell us about that, because you got some arrows last year.
Yeah, it's funny. So, couple things. First of all, if you don't understand it, it's at a different location in the Minnesota state every year. Our community takes it, and the Explore Minnesota sort of promotes it. We get invited, and I get to interview the governor, all the big DNR people, and have some fun, but I'm non-political. And people get pissed. They want me to hammer them. First of all, I got a call from the governors 2 days ago and said, hey, you guys coming? I said, yes. I didn't even know because it didn't say the governor was attending. They kind of wanted on the down low. Last year, they had protesters in boats. People are pissed off. It's not my job to smoke them, especially at this event. And I wouldn't anyway, unless that was my job. But yeah, we get to go visit St. Croix.
St. Croix River, friends. So that's interesting because we're in Minnesota. Those of you listening abroad or in other parts of the country, the fishing season starts next weekend.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal here.
The governor rolls out. And all the wannabe elected hopefuls like Klobuchar will be there because it's a great audience, great media. We got Angie Craig, Flanagan. Those are all running for the governorship. Hopefully some Republicans. I think they separate, though, for that.
I don't know.
A little bit.
I don't know. I recall, it was 20 years ago, we have the Pastors Tournament coming up in August 4th on Lake Minnetonka out of the depot. Kevin Kraft will be doing our fish fry, etc.
Let me shout out, too. The link is ready. If you're in the audience and you say, and one of the reasons we created it was because there were men and women out there that wanted to bring their pastor fishing. There's no way to treat your pastor. This is an opportunity to bring them out, so you would register with us. We got the boats. You don't have to guide, but you can guide your own pastor. We'll get you and other pastors in boats. That's
there you go. It's an awesome time. You can sponsor a boat. We would be blessed. It goes towards our outreach in the winter for Christmas. JesusInTheCityFellowship.org, August 4th. That was Governor Plenty came to the first one in 2000.
We had Mayor Ryback back then, too. Yes. We had Michelle Bachmann. We got close to President Bush. Remember that story?
Well, that was the Joe Sutton event. Actually, that was from the 2006
Pastors event.
Yeah, I'm taking the governor around, introducing him to the pastors.
Yeah.
And I introduced. Now, Pastor Joe is up on the north side. Now, he's not with us anymore. African-American pastor on 1000 North Penn Avenue. So I introduced Governor Plenty to Pastor Joe Sutton. And the first thing the governor says is, Pastor Joe, is there anything I can do to help you in your ministry? And my eyes just opened up when I heard that the governor was sincere. And Joe, ever the humble man, says, and I'm thinking, Joe, he just wrote you a blank check here. He goes, my son really wants to meet President Bush. Could you set that up? And I'm going, really, Joe? no way. So
I get a call.
Well, here's what happened. Joe called me because he was struggling with their budget.
Yeah.
You get a call.
Yep. I get a call from the governor's office saying, Bush is flying into town, Air Force One. Give me 3 kids. We're looking for a diverse. Joe Sutton should be 1. I grabbed 2 others, and bingo, bango, bungo.
So what? That was just all within a week. The president is coming into the cities to meet with the medical community.
Yeah.
Air Force One is an hour and a half late. They're all waiting at the airport. Joe gets talking to the head of St. Jude's Medical. They become buddies. Mm-hmm. Now, I happen to know Joe was months behind on his budget. Mm. This gentleman and Joe became friends.
And he wrote a check.
He covered his...
And here's another fun story, part of that story. That little kid that met the president is now a pastor doing Joe's work. And I got to trust honorably because Joe was one of the best stand-up African-American pastors I could find.
Oh,
and
I used to have my gallery.
His son is doing the work too, and I love that. He's pastor.
Joe liked to be called Clemenza. He's a black man. He had a light-skinned black... He did kind of look like Clemenza out of The Godfather.
Oh, God. He'd like to become that.
Oh, he did.
We should get down to the business of the topic yesterday and how I want to translate
We had
today.
a conference yesterday at IMF. We got into a discussion in the morning on forgiveness.
First of all, it was all pastors.
Yes.
So this is a special, weirder audience when you're talking about pastors, because pastors are weird, right? That's a joke.
Well, no, it's true.
Yeah. They got a special calling. There's special hardships. And there was 3 or 4 topics. One we participated together and it was unforgiveness. And I was struck, Mike. These pastors, and here's the phrase that came, death by 1,000 paper cuts.
A death by 1,000 cuts.
Ugh, who would want that? It's the worst way to die. And what they mean, pastors are taking shots every other day.
That's from Shakespeare, isn't it?
Death by 1,000 paper cuts, I don't know. But their parishioners, their congregants, sharpshoot them more often than they affirm them.
Oh my gosh, and what happens is when you're preaching and you're speaking truth into the soul of a man or a woman, and they don't want to receive it, they get offended, and so they attack. That's what happens.
And there was a wife there of a pastor, and she was talking about they're now out of the direct chapel or pastoral church ministry, and she was so relieved. And I was listening to her thinking, I thought this would be like a life-calling blessing. She was like, oh, it's so nice to be out from under a body of believers. It's so sad to say that about us, you and I, but she was relieved to be out of there because of the hardships.
It takes pressure off, burnout. There's more pastors leaving the pulpit, leaving the churches than coming in, and that speaks to the young people. We're not getting the young people into the ministry, and that's a different conversation.
I got some culpability problems though with pastors and with congregants. Well, let's share them with you.
Matthew 18:21. Right. Then Peter asked Jesus, "How many times shall I forgive my brother or sister who sins against me?" And he says up to 7 times, and Jesus answers, "No, not 7 times, but 77 times 7." He just goes on and on about forgiveness. Yeah. To your point.
Well, that is part of the point. The culpability. We're saying, okay, pastors are getting beat up. My contention is possibly we as a culture, and maybe pastors have sold a sort of a false bill of goods. Come to the church, we're fixing all your problems. There's some heavy lifting. You get born again. Michael, you get born again. I'm saying, I got euphoric Mike for 10, 15, 25 days. Then I'm going to start seeing the Mike with the problems.
The real stuff.
And yes, your long-term salvation is fixed. Thank you, Lord Jesus, for shedding blood. But we still got the problem of Mike and all his wounds, and I'm using you as a weird example, as if you're a parishioner.
No, it's
and
true.
The church might do better, serve themselves better, and pastors by saying, We're going to be helpful. We're a body of Christ. We're wounded with you and alongside you. And I got my own wounds, but I'm called to preach. However, you're still got a lot of heavy lifting in front of you. You use drugs at age 14 on.
It cuts you off emotionally.
Yeah. When you get back to actually getting sober up, you still got a 14-year-old.
Well, I remember our friend Michael Schluter, who's with the Lord now, but he ran our video for a year and a half, and he said, he started drinking as in middle teens, and that cuts a person up emotionally, and then when they get sober, you're getting that 15-year-old, 35-year-old guy or 40-year-old guy who might have been drinking for 20 or 30 years. And even more so now with the drugs, which are much more terrible on the minds.
Yeah.
We got a mess to.
Well, we're all messy. Even move outside of drugs, we all recognize we all got family trauma, family of origin stuff, or drinking, or abuse, or somebody offended. And my point is, there's two culpable parties. Pastors maybe in culture have set up the church to be the fix-all, end-all. Jesus is the fix-all, end-all, solves our salvation problem and says, come with me, my burden is light, we'll
Matthew
do this
11,
travel
28.
together, and you begin to fix. The church has to be ready to have a long-term hospital understanding, I think, that says you're healing. You're not healed completely. The parishioners need to know you're fallible. They walk into a church and think, you're perfect, make me perfect. Good luck with
that. I know, Tom, what you're talking about, and there's this very difficult, this line we have to walk, because we got to talk about, and Peter says you got to work out your salvation with fear and trembling.
I love that. Work it out.
That's not works, friends. That means working out your issues, your emotional issues, and getting into the unforgiveness that's tripping up. I was talking about earlier about a pastor who just went like this to his congregation, says, I'm out of here for 6 or 8 weeks, and he was so fried and burnt. And the pastors just take on the load of the congregation. And for me,
should they?
No.
But they don't. Don't they train you that in seminary?
You intellectually, you learn some of this stuff, but emotionally.
And plus, like you have a care, a desire for the lost. So it gets confusing. You just get wrapped up.
I have times I get jaded about Minneapolis. Callous, not jaded.
Callous.
Maybe callous. You're talking callous, jaded.
George Costanza's jaded.
Yeah, I was.
Callus is a healthy wound covering that doesn't allow bacteria to penetrate. That's a callus. That sounds smart.
I try to protect my heart, but I'm watching the insanity, and it is insanity. But underneath this, it's evil running wild, but people allowing it. We have to take a stand for Christ, and people, we got to walk in peace. I don't care what you believe in. If you're walking with Christ, you got to be walking in peace.
Be fast at the trigger to forgive. Because if you aren't, and we got into the forgiveness topic yesterday, and that's worth delving into. And
there's people walking into ministry that are loaded up with unforgiveness.
Yeah.
And I see it. You can and now,
loaded up. Here's how I see it, man.
Oh yeah.
So they're loaded up with unforgiveness. You say I see it, but I'm going to give you a visual because this worked for me yesterday. We talked about. You can tell when you are carrying heavy loads, burdens. I know something about burdens and heavy weights. In Afghanistan, I either carried a 90-pound pack of crap in full gear and it's heavy and it was burdensome and you're sweating and it's work, and I had a boogie bag. If crap hit the fan, your vehicle gets shot up, bound up, and you got to go. Bad guys, you grab your boogie bag, you hit the road, and in our case, we had the full burqas that the women wear, and now all of a sudden you can't see anything, but you're traveling light.
You were going on incognito.
Yeah, but my analogy is, we know people who travel light. Look at them for guidance. Say, how do you travel so light? I bet you they're not holding the burdens of the congregation, unforgiveness. There's so many burdens we could be.
You out there, we can't hold offense. That's underneath it. Because I know many Christian leaders. I had an old friend. He said, "I forgive, but I don't forget." Well, it's a little.
here's something I've used. And when you look at somebody who sinned against you, and if you cannot get over it, can you ever, do you understand the analogy? I think Christ said on the cross, everybody sinned against him, crucified him. He said, forgive them, for they know not what they do. I have to do that to people. If I can't look at them in a forgiving light, I can say to myself, but look at him. This guy grew up. The perpetration he experienced, he probably perpetrated against you. And that's probably, it's an easier way for me to get there.
It takes a while to get there. In our age, we get it now. But when you're 33 or 34 and you see, I went into Christian ministry with rose-colored glasses. And I was commenting, I think at lunch yesterday, the insane energy we had 20, 25 years ago when we just thought we could do anything. And we still believe that. We believe it in a different capacity now, but we just get back up the next day. But I'd always shake my head at the critical Christians, and they're out there all over the place. And now it's even more toxic with social media.
Yeah.
I read a report last week that there was some person disguising themselves as a conservative social commentator, making harsh comments about people of the liberal persuasion. It turns out this person was living in Eastern Europe, being financed by China, simply to
confuse the masses and caused
division,
dissension.
Confusion and division is not from Christ.
Yeah.
We have to remember that. Now, we still take the high road. We still walk in the principles of Christ. But to your point, when you're getting angry over people that you don't even know,
or triggered, and where do those, I would say we could probably make a bet that 50-60% of unforgiveness, that most people, Joe six-pack out here and Mrs. Karen over there, holding their heart, are family of origin, parental. So, we had fun with your dad, Riley, quite a bit. But I met Riley before I met you, and I was buying silver from him, and I love the dude. He rolled up. Had I had been raised by him, it'd be a different story. But you must have got to a point where the dude was so mean to you. But then again, you now can laugh about your dad. Do you see him in a light now that it's lighter burden on you?
We laughed about it at his funeral 5 years ago. But in our 20s and our teens, I mean, it was.
Well, you were firstborn, too.
Yeah.
That's the hardest job of all. Firstborns take, from men to males, I was like, I had to get on my knees forgiving my way I treated my son, because I was trying to do right, but you do wrong.
I made mistakes, and we didn't even know what we didn't know.
Yeah.
And we were arrogant, and, we come from this mold. Anyone who knows my family and knows what Dan Pilla is like, and myself, and, we're deeply driven, but Riley was he was wounded because he didn't make the Yankees when he was 18, and he carried that bitterness all around.
Did you know his dad well?
No, he died. Angelo came to the United States in 1915. He was 15 years old. His dad brought him and his two brothers over, left him here to stay with the other relatives, and went back to Italy. Angelo died at age 49, so that'd have been about 1950, I believe.
Yeah.
1951.
Yeah.
So
you guys aren't even church body people necessarily. I can hear stories, I don't want to get too far off, but of missionaries who used to think they have to go into Africa deep in, and they put their kids in a little camp outside, and these kids got horribly abused while parents are doing ministry.
I've heard stories.
I know our family of origin stuff, and my prayer for all you is that you are able to travel light and take the burden off. And
friend, how to recognize unforgiveness? Are you getting offended at the drop of a hat?
Yeah.
Is there something tripping you up at the drop of a hat?
Mm-hmm.
Is it a preacher or a pastor? getting, can you believe what this guy preached last week? Okay, that's a conversation.
Sure.
But if it's tripping you up and sending you into orbit or out of orbit sync, and getting you all thrust up out of this world we live in. We live in a dark and fallen world. And that's just the reality. People are going to hurt us. And
you got to stay in the game, stay with the group, a healthy church body.
There's good
will
churches.
sin still against you, but they should be willing to work through it.
There's good churches out there.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, there are good churches out there. You don't have to be isolated. You don't have to walk in isolation. That's my thing is you got to be connected to the people, other people that love the Lord, and you got to be worshiping and getting fed. If you're getting offended, you got to look at it. And Tom, that's why I want to take this. You talked about the thief on the cross. And you said,
forgive them, for they know not what they do.
That's what Jesus said.
And I just feel strongly that if you're looking, you have to be able to, even you and your father, the analogy is, I've had to say, come to terms with my dad, the sin against me. Now, I know there's even harder sins that you probably experienced. How can you possibly come to terms with forgiving somebody who maybe, us hurt or assaulted, but there are ways and there are means and there are at least steps in that direction, such as looking at them saying, do you understand that they perpetrate because they were perpetrated against? And we've all experienced, and that's not an excuse. Justice needs to be served. You speak on justice.
If Dan gave that, look it up on the YouTube or on our previous, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, I posted it on PastorsPatio. Dan talked about it out of Micah 6:8. Friend, because you forgive somebody doesn't mean they're still not going to get justice. Sometimes we don't want to forgive because we think we're holding them up, and
you're carrying that weight.
We're carrying that burden,
You're the one
and it's
that
going to
gets
cause you anger, pain. In fact, I think people who are angry and not walking in forgiveness, I think it causes health problems. Cancer.
Spiritual, physical, emotional.
Yeah.
No. And that's Satan's job, is to steal, kill, and destroy, cause that dissension, and he wants to wound you, wreck you, keep you down, and hopefully kill you at the end.
And one more thing. Jesus commands us to forgive, or we won't be forgiven. Take a whole look